Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a recreation video. I'm not sure if I've done one of these yet on my channel, but I wanted to do it today because I have been in kind of a creative funk for, I want to say like the past 6 months at least. I really have been struggling with coming up with new nail designs, and I feel like part of my struggle is that when I started my nail journey about 5 years ago, I really was trying any and everything I could because I wanted to learn how to use all the various products, create different designs, and really just kind of practice and hone my skills. If you don't know, I am not a nail tech. I am 100% self-taught. I am a DIYer who has learned from the college of YouTube and Google. So for me, when I was learning, it was really easy for me to get inspired because there was always some new trick I was trying to learn or design I was trying to learn or a new product I was trying to practice with. So for me, it actually allowed me to be a lot more creative along my journey. But now that I've I feel like gotten my base foundation of my applications down, and I feel like I have like a good flow, even though I'm not quite where I want to be. I do think that it has kind of almost plateaued me, and I struggle now to find inspo because I'm not getting excited to learn or try new things. And I think part of that is just being in a rut and kind of seeing the same things over and over. But another part I think is just kind of getting too used to the routine. So I got to mix things up a little bit. And one way I like to do that is by pulling inspo or trying to recreate other nail designs or trying to recreate a pattern or something you see just out in your day-to-day life, because I feel like it kind of forces you to look at your products, analyze the design, try to figure out how to get that to translate on a nail set. So for me, I think it can kind of help pull you out of ruts. So that is what I am attempting today. So I applied my nail tips. I am using my Ballerina tips from Nail Supply Glamour. I am going ahead and applying this set fully in the Mia Secret cover Pinkish, and I'm just building my nail as I usually do. I'm not the most well versed with using tips. I typically use forms, so I'm still practicing this method. So as you can see, I struggle kind of cutting the excess acrylic there at the end. No worries, we get it eventually, but that is something that I think you get more proficient at as you kind of apply the nails and get used to this method, because I do think that applying nails to tips is much different than applying it to forms. Before I go in with the cover Pinkish, I do use my Young Nails Core French Pink. I always do some type of clear or like translucent pink on my nail bed because I change my nails out so often. Even when I'm using a nude or a pink color like this, I do like to have that base layer down. It just helps me when changing out my products. I don't have to file all the way to my natural nail necessarily. I can just file down to that clear or translucent pink layer, and it just helps prevent overfiling of your natural nail. Obviously, as you can see, I am not a 1, 2, or 3 bead method type of girly. I do just apply the beads where I see fit. I try my best nowadays to really keep my application on the thinner side and not overbuild my nail. When I was first starting, that was my biggest problem. I feel like I hear the opposite for a lot of people, where they tend to build the nails out too thin. My struggle was always building them out too thick because I was afraid of building them too thin and having them break. So I do try to keep it as close to the final like thickness that I want. So with that, I tend to go for smaller beads and then just build up slowly as I go. I do start from the tip and work my way back to the cuticle, and then just kind of build up through that apex when I see any dips, so that it is a smooth transition from cuticle to tip. left a lot of my application in this video just to kind of show you guys how I would build a standard nail. If you're curious about how I pick up and apply an acrylic bead, I do have a video for that. I can link that for you guys in the cards so that you guys can check it out, or you can search it on my channel. It's not necessarily a method I think that every nail tech or nail teacher will show you, but it's what has helped me learn. And I feel like when applying acrylic, the biggest issue that people have is their liquid to powder ratio, and picking up an acrylic bead and figuring out how to get like sizing and all of that right. That was my biggest struggle. So I feel like having at least a base foundation on how to try to get consistent bead sizes is helpful. So let me know down below if you want to see other videos like that, but definitely check out that video. It just gives you a good kind of starting point. Again, with that video, I do the application on a nail tip. For forms, it is slightly different, but if you search any of my other tutorials or videos that I have, I pretty much predominantly use forms, so you can find a lot of application videos using forms on my channel. Once I have that, I'm going in with my V Beauty Pure Gel Polish in the number 92. I believe this is from their OG line. I am using this to do 2 full coats on my ring finger, obviously curing in between. So I am doing this as an all over color. And then this is also going to be my French tip color, which I will show you guys in a minute how I do that. I am not the most proficient with French tips, so definitely you can look up other videos to see more tips and tricks. I can just tell you guys what has worked for me. I tend to kind of stray away from French tips on myself just because I feel like they take so long, and doing your own nails, if you've ever tried, takes 10 times longer I think than doing it on somebody else, just because you have to kind of just move one hand at a time versus being able to work on both. And French tips just are a lot of precision and really trying to get a lot of symmetry, so I stay away from them. But this design called for it, and I felt like it was a good time to practice, so I pretty much do kind of like a rough outline. I use a liner brush for this. Anyone works. You don't want it to be too short though. I find that it's actually harder because when you have a longer brush, you almost can just use the natural curve and bend of the brush to build your French tip. It almost does it itself, and you just have to like go in and refine it. If the brush is too short, it doesn't allow for a lot of movement, and I feel like your lines don't actually end up being as like straight and steady for some reason. At least that's my experience. So I definitely recommend using a slightly longer brush, or at least like a medium length brush, to try to get that. Once I have the line generally where I want it, I will go ahead and fill in the rest. I do use a flat paddle brush for that just because it's a lot faster and it helps me get the gel product a lot more even on the nail. Some people go in and just fill it in using the liner brush. I feel like that leaves a lot of peaks and valleys. Depending on how well your gel polish self levels, you can use the liner brush, but this is just easier and quicker for me. I also feel like using a very fine paddle brush, like a fine tipped paddle brush, allows for me to clean up any little areas on the French tip that maybe I didn't get quite right with the liner brush. It just gives you kind of that rounded shape to really perfect it. Now you can go in with, say, like some acetone or alcohol on a flat paddle brush, and on the reverse, so coming down from like your cuticle area, go in and try to clean it up from underneath. I don't necessarily love doing that. If you have too much liquid on the brush, it does sometimes cause the gel to like run and move into areas that you don't want. So for me, I just go for the rough outline, and since generally I need to do more than one coat anyway, I perfect any mistakes on the French tip line when I go in with my second or my third coat. So I pretty much do the same step over and over until I get the opacity that I want. Then once I have that and all of that is cured, I went in with my Easy Ombre Gel from iGel Beauty. This is essentially just an ombre gel, or kind of like in a way, a matte top coat. It does have a sticky base, which I completely forgot about when I did this. So when you are doing like ombre designs using acrylic powders or dipping powders, and you're using one of these style gels, you actually want to go in with some clear acrylic first to get rid of like that excess stickiness, and then go in with your color. It just helps the blend and make it look a lot more seamless. I forgot that, so this time I just went straight in with my powders. Now I'm using these really inexpensive ones from Amazon. They're from Savvyland. I use the Deep Sea and Grape Purple. It wasn't giving me the full color gradient that I wanted, so I did add in a neon pink afterwards, but I do start off at the tip using the the lighter color and kind of blend down as far down as I want it to go. The reason I go lighter to darker is because your initial pass through is going to pick up the most product. So if I start off with a darker color, I'm going to have a harsher line to blend out afterwards. So going in with a lighter color will allow me to have a more seamless look. Now, once the product hit the gel, I noticed that that lighter color almost blended too well into the darker one. So it didn't give me the contrast and the fade that I wanted, and it didn't bring in that like pink tone that I was expecting it to. So I did go in with that hot pink color. It was also from the Savvyland brand. It was a kit, I believe, that I got a long time ago. So I just picked that up and kind of blended that along the edges to just soften up that color, as well as bring in that pink tone that I was looking for. Once I have that, I am going in with a matte top coat. Generally, I do 2 layers of top coat if I'm doing any type of chrome, sugar design, if I'm using like a ombre design with layering like acrylic powder, anything that's going to add texture to the nail or kind of smooth it out too much, I like to really seal it in with my top coat. So I generally do 2 layers of top coat to make sure that everything is sealed and perfected and that it's not going to go anywhere. I am also using that chrome bond on the ring finger. I am going to do kind of an aura design on this nail. So I am going to apply that. Again, you want to cure after you apply this. When you are doing this, like I said, it is easier to do a clear acrylic first, but I did not do that for this nail set. It can work, you just have to be a little more mindful about the order that you're placing your colors and how you blend everything. But I am going in, again, I try to go lightest to darkest because it's going to help your blend, and I'm using a very fluffy brush, and I'm just kind of dabbing it and patting it in a circle throughout the center of the nail. So I start with the pink, and then as I get closer, I use a more denser brush, and I just start packing it in a smaller like surface area. So with that first brush, I kind of blended it all throughout the entirety of the nail almost, and then I go in with that darker color with a dense brush just in the center, and that'll kind of give you that gradient that you're looking for. And once I'm done with that, I do go in and top coat this as well. Once all that is done, I'm going in with my Makartt Rhinestone Gel Glue, and I am using this to create some 3D texture on my nails. I have not done this design before, so this was new for me and definitely not as easy as it looks. So one of the things that I noticed was that my like 3D gel droplet lines, whatever you want to call them, were ending up to look really thick all over. I was struggling to kind of get that really nice like kind of tapered tail to these, which I feel like gives you that like shape, that kind of like nice like 3D shape instead of it just looking like a blob on the nail. So one of the things that I tried doing, as you'll see here, is applying like little beads just to where I wanted them to be, and then I just took my brush and kind of pulled through instead of trying to pick up the bead with my brush and then apply it. I don't necessarily think that this helped. I think it still ended up looking thicker than I wanted. I have seen some other videos and tutorials since doing this video that show kind of allowing the gel bead to kind of pool at the end of your liner brush and then going in and applying it. I feel like when I've seen people do that, it kind of helps give the shape that I was going for a lot better than what I did. So definitely something to practice. You can look up other videos. I will let you guys know as I try this design more on what things that I felt like were helpful and worked for me, so that if you are struggling, maybe there's some other tricks that you can try. Once I'm done applying that and all of that is cured, I do cure as I go with that design because you don't want it to move too much. I do go in with a little bead towards my cuticle and I just apply a little rhinestone. This is from a kit from Amazon, just a random kit, and I apply that to my cuticle area of all the nails that have a French tip. Once you're done with that, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to check out the original creator. I will link their Instagram down below so you guys can go check that out. If you would like to see me recreate other nail designs, if there's trends or things you would like me to pull inspo from, or products you would like me to try, brands you would like me to try, definitely let me know that down below, or you can message me or tag me on Instagram. I will have that all linked in the description. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are. I appreciate your guys' continued support on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss any of my future content. Check out some of my other videos as well if you haven't already. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye everybody.